Hi, hello, namaskara. I'm your Dr. Ravindra Kumar Arunsi, Professor and Head Sanjeevani Ayurvedic Medical College. I'm in front of you once again, as I said in my previous episode about the Langana. In the previous lecture condition, we discussed that what is nothing but the Langana, what are the types of Langanas, what is an important of Langanas, and what are the indications of Langanas, and if you make Langana with excessively, what are the complications are going to be observed. Those all the things according to Ayurveda we discussed in short. And today I am in front of you that what the globe, what the other contemporary sciences, what the modern science, they are thinking about the fasting, how they evaluated the fasting, what they understand about the fasting, and what they said, the importance about the fasting. That presentation we will discuss with today's lecture module. I am here, so kindly subscribe my YouTube channel, SB Ayurveda Academy, and this always gives you about importance of Ayurvedas. Welcome to once again to my channel, and today we are going to discuss about how the fasting is acting in the human body, what it play the role. So here physiologically the fasting always called to be as it is one of the process of improvement in the digestion. So it makes the improvisation of the digestion and metabolic process by fasting. It helpful to make one thing, it increases the faster the metabolic rate as well as improvement inside the digestion. Ultimately, what it does, it make the mechanism of two things, one which is called as a glycolysis, another one which is called as an lipolysis. It acts always acting by doing with the fasting, our physiological action, our metabolic action will get increases. It mainly do with the two, one is glycolysis, another one is lipolysis. Based on that, we are trying to understand how this fasting is helpful to make the laguta of the body, which is explained in the Ayurvedic context. How this Langhana is helpful in the Brahat Shariram. In obese person, it is going to reduce because of due to these physiological action. We'll come to know that there is when a person follows the fasting, there is a lot of explanation. Whatever today's presentation will be there, there is no single of mind word. I chosen with a different article, I chosen with a different researcher, different text, what they are giving the importance about the concept of fasting, that I am keeping in front of you. One, there is a person follows the fasting and energy derived by utilization of the blood glucose. What it does, there is an energy which is going to releases by utilization from the blood glucoses by doing with the fasting. Second, glycogen stored in the hepatocyte. That means whatever we are trying to consume the food, that food will goes into the metabolic condition. After the metabolism, the glucose, which how much the source of cell is required, it will get absorbed. The remaining extra glucose, which is going to store inside the human body in the form of glycogen, that will be stored in the hepatocytes. So these hepatocytes utilizes the energy. That is a second condition. Third is accelerate the breakdown of adipose tissue. That is called as lipolysis. When you do the fasting, when you conduct about the fasting, during that, the whatever the storage of glycogen will be there, that glycogen once again converting in the form of glucose, and it makes the lipolysis mechanism which is stored in the adipose tissue. The next, more fatty acids and glycerols are formed and released into the blood. So those which are stored in the human body will be there, which are exceeded in the human cells will be there. They will come to the form into the released into the bloodstream and remetabolized, and they will get reduced in the human body. This is second physiological importance of doing the fasting. The same time, other cells may produce into the ketone. When you do the fasting, other cells producing into the ketone, and that ketone later on it act as fatty acids are transported into the hepatocyte. Fatty acid will come to the hepatocyte and they will undergone into the metabolizing action and produce the ketone beta OHB and acetone acetate. It producing into the OHB as well as acetone acetate and inducing the mitochondrial biogenesis. That mean to say that by doing of the fasting, whatever the extra storage of the energy which is stored and which is creating the adipose tissue deposition and increasing the weight of the person by doing the fasting, those all the things will get cleared by the hepatocytes and make mitochondrial biogenesis. It increasing the action of mitochondria. It makes into the biogenesis of the mitochondrial action and helpful to make the longevity of the cell. Then next, the ketone thus produced are transported into the cell within the high metabolic activity. This goes into the metabolic action, increases that, and as a neurons, muscles, etc. becomes into the acetyl coenzyme. They converting into the acetyl coenzyme, enters tricarboxylic acid as well as ATP. It generating to the ATP, that means it is going to produce the ATP. So what it suggests, when you make the fasting, whatever the things which is stored in the hepatocyte, it will become recycled and it is going to produce into the newer ATP. That is nothing but by doing the fasting, you are not only causes the reduction of the weight, or you are not only reducing the adipose tissue, it is going to generate about the ATP. So that there are lot of surveys which has been conducted even in the World War, after despite of making the fasting, after despite of longevity of the hunger also, the person lifespan has increased and the person has not goes into the reduction of the weight. There are a lot of research things are there. I will put forth in front of you here. The next, during the fasting, primary energy source of the body shifts from glucose to the fatty acid. So that glucose converting into the fatty acid, and that fatty acid which is mainly helpful to make into the biosynthesis of mitochondria, so that longevity of the cells will get increases. The human life which goes on increases by doing the proper form of fasting, which is suggested by the Ayurveda Achara. Then there are lot of example I am keeping in front of you, and all I searched from the search engine, and a lot of information I got about the fasting. And this fasting which is explained by the Acharya in a 5000 years back in the name of Langhana, and the same thing, so many research scholars, so many researchers, so many scientists who accepted the role of fasting in the human body. In that, there is a few reference I am keeping in front of you. One, during the Second World War, people of countries such as Norway and Belgium people had insufficient of the food. They're not having the food to consume it also. Apart from that, they doesn't have the weight loss, and they need the population seems to be healthier and increase the longevity. After keeping with insufficient of the food, they are in the fasting, they are in the hunger. After doing of that much of hunger also, even after the fasting also, the population lifespan has increases, weight loss has not observed, and important thing is the patient is having increased the longevity. The public are observed with a increased longevity, first one. And second, in 1946, in Florida, medical school was published on rat. There is an animal experimental study has conducted upon the rat, and it proved that there is a female rats are lived longer than the male, and then benefit of fasting were more significant for the males like a condition. There is an separation of the male and female rats has been conducted, and both sides they did with research things that keeping the fasting for both the rats in the form of fasted either for the 1 in 2 days or 3 days or 4 days, and best for the male, it has been come to the conclusion that 1 in 2 days, and they lived 20% of longer life. The lifespan of the rats generally what is there, it has been increased 20% by doing the fasting, whereas in female it has been suggested that 1 in 3 days of the fasting has increased 15% of the longevity of the life. That means the lifespan has increased of the rats. This study will give the meaning that by doing the fasting, by doing the proper method of Langhana, we can increase of our lifespan. This study has been given by the Florida, and also there were no retardation of growth inside that rat. Next, it has been found that there is no retardation of the growth as a result of the doing the fasting. By doing the fasting, rat has not undergone into the growth retardation. Second, the researchers observed that the fasting female rats had less memory tumors. The observation of the memory tumors were get reduced, and absence of memory tumors in the rat by doing the proper fasting. Then in 2000, there is one more research article which has been given that Kyushu University on female rats subjected about the fasting for 4 consecutive days every 2 weeks show that the result were observed that adult females were actually heavier, had less illness and lived into the mean age of 64 days. There is a more observation is they are observed with a heavier, and second observation is their mean age of life is 64 days while the control group lived mean of 47 days. That means two groups were selected. One group is induced to the fasting, another one group is called as a control group which is giving with a normal regular diet. In this, it came to the know that the rats which is induced with fasting, their lifespan goes with a mean lifespan goes with a 64 days, whereas the normal diet, normal food rat group, that is a control group, which is proved as a 47 days. That means the longevity of the life of rats were increased by doing the proper fasting. And one more study, it has been giving that longevity is clearly not the only the benefit, or increasing the lifespan is not only a benefit by doing the fasting. That is then two UK professor Roy Taylor and Mike Lean have used for non-starchy vegetable juice for the fast to reduce about the fasting. That means they are trying to conduct the therapy. In Ayurveda we said Langhana is not nothing but the fasting. There is one more definition also comes out. Langhana miti lagu bhojanam. If you try to use about the lagu ahara, that is qualitatively and quantitatively. We say another term, hitasi, san mitasi, sat kala bhoji, jitendriyaha. If you want to increase of your lifespan, you need to follow about the hita ahara and mita ahara. Mita ahara is nothing but there is a quantitatively and qualitatively less food has to be consumed. Same theory it has been used. Non-starchy vegetable juice has utilized for the fasting to reduce the fat in the bloodstream, and from the around the liver and reverse type 2 diabetes mellitus in patient who had the disease from up to the 15 years. The patient were selected on here, directly it is on human trial. 15 years patient, old patient of diabetes mellitus were selected to this group and given with non-starchy vegetable juice, and that group which is suggested that there is a significant result in controlling the diabetes level. And one more expert who was giving in the fast of fasting, in the field of fasting, and Dr. Vulture Lango, professor of biochemistry at the University of Southern California. He has journalist and has the study effect of diet, particularly on cellular protection. He did the, he is one of the scientists who did work upon particularly on the cellular protection, how this fasting helped to protect our body cells. For that, he conducted the survey, and he runs that the Longo Foundations and has written a book called as Longevity Diet. In the name of diet only, he given the term as longevity diet, and his group at USA has shown the fasting retards the growth of tumors, strips the guard protecting cancer cells from the immune system. By doing the proper conditions of fasting, which is helpful to reduce the tumor, which is retarding the growth of the tumor and strip the guard protecting cancer cells from the immune system, and that fasting can help chemotherapy work better. So he did the study that in a chemotherapy patient, proper intervention of adopting the fasting therapy which help the cells to treat by the chemotherapies. There are different types of fasting which has been explained by the modern context. They are called to be like, first one is time restricted fasting. TRF, that is called to be as time restricted fasting. In Ayurveda, we said like in the previous episode, there is a Dashavida type of the Langhana will be there, and from contemporary sciences, we are observing the different term for the same thing. They are called as time restricted fasting. In this, what the did, American fad where health experts have the decided you should not eat after the 6 p.m. What they decided in time restricted fasting is after 6 p.m. we should not eat the food, only start again after the next day of 10 a.m., 11 a.m. or the 12 a.m. of the next day morning. What it gives an ideology in Ayurveda, we are going to suggested about the conditions of Agni. When there is an Agni Kala will be there. There is a reference which has been giving that Vayo Ahoratri Bhuktanam Te Ante Madhyadigaha Kramat. Depends upon by the Agni Kala, depends upon by the Vaya, Bala, Deha, everything. There is an timing will be there. There is a prakopa of or the dominancy of individual dosha will be there. So in this time before the 6 p.m., after the 6 p.m., we are going to call the term as an dominancy of vata dosha. So when there is an Agni Kala will be there, in that time we try to consume the ahara which is going to metabolize properly. The same thing which is accepted in the type of TRF. So here the gap between 6 to 8 hours per day in between the meals has been suggested. It is also called time restricted fasting. What is the time restricted fasting? They are suggested directly with the aharaja kala, when we should consume the food, when we should not consume the food. That is classical reference of Vayo Ahoratri Bhuktanam Te Ante Madhyadigaha Kramat. Dominancy of the dosha, dominancy of the Pittaja Kala and Agni Kala, we need to consume the ahara, and that ahara should be there with a hitasi and san mitasi. Hita ahara and mita ahara should be there. Sat kala boji. There is one more restriction which has been given in that. Sat kala boji. In a particular kala, we need to consume the ahara. That means when there is an Agni Kala will be there, when there is a dominance of Pitta dosha will be there, and that time we need to consume the food. That is called time restricted fasting like a condition. Depends on this. There is a researcher has suggested that rather mixed with a human study show that people tend to eat less calories and seem to lose the weight. The person who are trying to consume according to time restricted fasting less calorie food, if the person is consuming, they will go for the loss of the weight. There is a loss reduction in obesity. This has to be followed. So in Ayurveda also we said complete fasting is varja in case of Medo Roga, because there is a prakopa of Vata dosha. Once again, a reversible feedback mechanism, it increases the sandukshanam of Agni. So that there we suggested Langanamiti, Lagu Bhojanam. Lagu means qualitatively and quantitatively light food we need to consume. That is less calorie of the food has to be given, and that will helpful to reduce inside the weight of the person. And in 2014, the study has been given that the benefit in the lower concentration of glucose, triglyceride, LDL and higher HDL level. By doing of proper time restricted fasting, it helpful to make in the concentration of the glucose, reduction in the triglyceride, LDL and higher the HDL level. Higher level of the HDL has been given by doing the proper TRF. One study has furtherly given that as Ramadan, as in religiously we are going to conduct about the fasting. This Ramadan fasting, the person who are doing the Ramadan fasting for the over the period of 10 years, in that the survey has conducted that the subject with previous history of cardiovascular diseases show benefit into systolic blood pressure and lipid profile, weight as well as BMI. By person has selected who are regularly making the fasting in the Ramadan for the period of 10 years, those people were selected for the study, and previously whatever these people who are having the disease belongs to the cardiovascular disease will be there, hypertension will be there, lipid profile and weight and BMI of those patients were increased before that fasting, Ramadan fasting. After doing of this regular fasting with a regular interval, it has been drastically reduced inside the cardiac diseases, lipid profile as well as weight loss, and BMI has come to the normal. So the study has been given the report of this. And one more study has been given that the time restricted fasting does cause you lose the weight. It definitely reducing the weight. Your blood statistics, whatever the lipids are there, they will come to the normal level, and if does not, they don't. Another theory is only to see the real health benefit. If anything is not there also, then definitely there will be health benefit in the long time of the life. To increase of longevity, long period, there isn't longer than the 5 years. They given that their lifespan will get increases 5 years by doing of this fasting. And one more study I am keeping in front of you, that in 2016, the study has conducted upon 2,413 women from the women of healthy eating. Healthy eating women were selected to conduct of this research activity, and living study showing that across an 11.3 years period, throughout 11.3 years, this survey has been conducted, this study has been worked out, and women with breast cancer who fasted completely for at least 13 hours overnight had 36% of less reoccurrences. So the study has given that the person who are doing about the fasting for the fast 11.3 years, and the woman who doing with less than at least around 13 hours with the fasting, and they are capable to reduce around drastically with a 36% lesser reoccurrence of the breast cancer, where 21% less likely to die from breast cancer. That means the survey has given that by doing the proper TRF around the 13 hours, which is beneficial to reduce and reoccurrence of the breast tumor one side, and the death occurrence because of due to the breast cancer has reduced drastically with a 21%. So you can, by doing with the TRF properly, advised by the dietitian, advised by the doctors, advised by the Ayurvedic physician, you can reduce the 36% of recurrency of the breast cancer and 21% of life living. There is a death chances has been reduced in these people. The second type of the fasting, which is called to be as very interesting fasting, that is called intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting, they use the term like people who do this properly understand and involve whole day with a week, whole days in the week, not hours in a day. Intermittent fasting is significantly more beneficial. That means this method of fasting is either once in a week, 2 days in a week, or 5:2 ratio. 2 days in a week you keep for the fasting, remaining 5 days you try to consume the less calorie of the food, which is going to helpful for the more beneficial to control about the lot of research activity. There is a big difference is going to be observed while time restricted fasting. By doing with a time restricted fasting, you are going to observe about the many calories and consumption in an 8 hours period against to how many you would have eaten in 24 hours. You need to reduce of 8 hours of fasting. That means you need to keep 8 hours of fasting. Depends on how much you consumed in the fast 24 hours. Depends on that much of calorie burning you need to consume about this kind of the fasting. This is going to become beneficial in the so many conditions. When you have the fasted 24 hours, the body produces the serotonins. There is a different method in India. Traditionally in India, religiously, we are doing the different type of the fasting. Ekadashi, Dwadashi, different conditions we are going to keep the fasting once in a 15 days, once in a week, or 2 days in a week. In the name of God, we are going to conduct about the fasting. What it benefit? This benefit of conducting 24 hours keeping fasting helpful to make produces the serotonins. These serotonins particularly with two, one is SIRT1 and SIRT3. These two are, according to the meta-analysis, it suggested that alters your insulin level. By doing with the intermittent fasting, it alters the insulin level and reduce the insulin resistance. It is going to reduce the insulin resistance. After that, your antioxidant response, and they alter the glycolysis. By reducing the insulin level, it helpful to benefit making the glycolysis, burning of the glucose, and reduction of the level of the glucose level. And second, they make the body less prone with oxidative stress. By doing the fasting, less oxidative stress will be there. Alter metabolic hemostasis. All the metabolic changes in the lipids and insulin level, they will come to the control and can restrict the cell division. Also make the restriction of the cell division. So particularly study has been conducted on sirtuin, that in cancer patient, sirtuin can slow or stop the cancer growth by making the restriction of the cell division. By doing the proper fasting, the growth of the cancer will get restricted and cell division will get restricted and enhance the effect of certain cancer drugs. By giving the chemotherapy and other type of the drug, they enhance the property of the drug and cell division will get reduced, cancer cell multiplication will get controlled by doing of this fasting activity. So that they evaluated this study in the chemotherapy patient, that sirtuins and particularly SIL2 also have the significant effect on longevity and aging. In wartime, Belgium and Norway, a lack of food is there also, as already given the example. They are also eating less food also. They are healthy people. They are increasing the lifespan and their death ratio is reduced. And University of the Florida, furtherly it has been shown the report that effect of serotonin on insulin and other hormones protect the health of the cells. It is going to protect the health of the cells and encourages the longevity of the cells. The lifespan of the cells goes on increases. Then third types of fasting according to the modern science, which will come, that is called as a calorie restriction. That means Langhana miti lagu bhojanam. You try to restrict the Langhana in the form of less quantity and less quality of the food. And there is a calorie restriction has indicated 15% of carbohydrate calorie consumption has to be reduced in this type of the fasting. This is going to become calorie restriction is good for everyone. So how it is going to happen? The research study was given in the animal have shown that longevity improvement up to 40%. The lifespan of animals has increased the 40% by doing of calorie restricted fasting, by reducing the intake of daily calorie consumed to just 10 to 15% below to the normal level. That means you just reduce off your normal quantity of the food to 10 to 15% of your calories. In 2007, there is one more research study by Krista Vardy and Mark Halston has given the study that alternate day fasting, doing the alternate day fasting, around 400 calorie of meal for a woman and 600 calorie for the men for alternative day. By giving with this fasting, it was suggested that reduced blood levels of glucose, insulin, IGF-1 and bad fat, bad cholesterol with a long-term reduced risk of chronic disease including diabetes, cardiovascular diseases and cancer-like diseases. So they studied that in a female alternative day, they given with a reduction of 400 calories, in men 600 calories of food has been reduced, and conducted the survey and they all prevented with all metabolic disorders. And one more study in 2013, Oncologist magazine has commented with editorial research from Chicago Medical School has shown that restricted calories by cutting carbohydrates with 15% in patients having radiotherapy produced better result. The patient who are on radiotherapy, in that 15% of the calorie has reduced with restricted food and they given the better result compared to the control group. It is suggested that the same might be true of chemotherapy and calorie restriction diet. The patient who are on radiotherapy, who are on chemotherapy, if you reduce the 15% of the calorie diet by doing properly in under the observations of the oncotherapist, we need to conduct of this restriction. Definitely it enhance the action of radiotherapy by reducing the cell divisions of cancer, by increasing the normal cell, and effect of chemotherapy drug will get enhanced. This survey has been given in 2013. And also in 2010, one more study has given that water fasting, that is Pipasa Langana, which is protected normal mammalian cells but not cancer cell during the chemotherapy. It protected the normal cells from doing the Pipasa type of the Langana, whereas cancer cells were destroyed by doing of this during the chemotherapy, and also greatly reduce the side effect. Whatever the side effect of chemotherapy and radiotherapies are there, they goes on reducing by doing of water fasting. Differential stress resistance. This is called as, they call the term as differential stress resistance therapy as water fasting, that is Pipasa. Then furtherly studies in the UCS and Leonardian Medical School showed that 2 days fast prior to the chemotherapy, 2 days fast, or prior to the radiotherapy 2 days fast, reduce the side effect and improve the survival times. With GBM, fasting made brain tumors more vulnerable. So that means 2 days before of chemotherapy, 2 days before of radiotherapy, under the supervision of oncosurgeon, oncologist, and radiotherapist, if we did it, definitely it is going to become beneficial in the cancer patient. And in 2019, human study has conducted short-term fasting is involving at least 36 hours before chemotherapy, the day of chemotherapy, and half a day after the chemotherapy, show that benefit effect of quality of life. It increase the quality of life, second well-being, fatigue, and improve during the drug tolerance. It is helpful in the drug tolerance conditions, and much more. NHS booklets telling you that poor diary, sugar, sticky buns down your throat when having with the chemotherapies. And also there are a lot of surveys which has been given in the metabolic ratio to control about the carcinoma. Simple fasting, doing about the fasting, it helpful to make hormonal messages to be sent to the healthy cell, telling that shut down to on the standby. That means the cells of normal cells will goes into the divisions, whereas the carcinoma cells and cell division of the carcinoma will get reduced, so that there is a metastasis of the cancer can be controlled by doing about the fasting like a conditions. The metabolizing the vigorously and result more dead cancer cells, less damage of the healthier cell. That means cancer cells are going to die, healthy cells are not going to die. This survey is given by the report. And like that, there are so many surveys I'm keeping in front of you to conduct about the cancer. One more survey from Dr. Dominic, Florida University has conducted calorie restriction of the fasting, has confirmed that carbohydrate restriction is won't enough to reduce the level of blood glucose. It is enough to reduce the blood glucose level, insulin and IGF, and all implicated in the cancer development. They are main factor to increase the cancer, and by doing of this calorie restriction, indirectly or directly, you are controlling the cancer cell development. But complete fasting force the body after 2 to 3 days into a state of ketosis, and it goes into the ketosis where without the carbohydrate, the person will goes into the stage of ketosis. The healthy cells burn fats and ketones. The healthy cells are going to burn up these two. Cancer cell cannot do this and go for the starve. That means cancer cell cannot do about the ketosis. They will go for the starvation, and that cancer cell is going to die. Whereas normal cells are goes under the ketosis, and they will go for the carbohydrate metabolism, and they are going to survive for the longevity. This report is suggested that by doing the fasting, the cancer cells are going to die, and they will not go for the further cell division, and reduction of the cancer will take place, and healthy cells are goes on its longevity of the life. However, there are so many studies which has been given. Do you need the fasting completely, or can you just restrict it with the calories? It is totally depends upon by the prana avisara vaidya. That vaidya or the doctors has to decide in which person, which type of the fasting we need to advise for our patient, that we have to restricted ourselves to conduct of fasting. It does not mean that in all the patients who are already with a malnutrition, and they are undergoing for the chemotherapy and radiotherapy, if you advise for the fasting, definitely it causes the burden to the patient. There is all do's and don'ts are there in choosing the patient when how we should do about these kind of the fastings. And lastly, coming to the word of beneficial of the fasting can helpful to make lot of research activity. In America also, cancer has been suggested. The fasting has reducing recognizable conditions of cancer by doing about the food and eat affect the way of body absorbs and react to the drugs. So it is beneficial to increase the mode of action of the drugs, and it is beneficial to increase the longevity of the normal cell, and it is beneficial to reduce the carcinoma cell and enhance the effect of chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And also in 2008, there is one more study has conducted on the rat with 10 elderly cancer patients and vulnerably underwent with a short term of the fasting before and after the chemotherapy. It has been reported that patients reported far better in fasting patient rather than with a control group. Like that, there are so many research work which has been given upon that, and I have given all the research link to below you people, so that you can go for all these links and you can update what are the research which has been conducted in one of the smallest topic of Ayurvedas. And all reports were suggested drastical changes of fasting in the human body with different kind of the diseases. The fasting improves the immune system. Another one more important is it is going to improve the immune system of the human being. There also there is a research study has been conducted in 2014. Langana and UCS team has showed that fasting caused old white immune cell to die. Old cells are going to die, and these were replaced from the stem cell as soon as the subject is recommended to eat. The new cells are goes on increases and old cells goes on dying, and thus 3-day fast could regenerate a strong immune system by doing with 3 days of fasting, which helpful to make your strongest of the immune system. Fasting can improve the cancer survival cell. Already I given lot of research work upon this, and what are they proved upon the research, all the things I given. And secondly, not only was there reduced the tumor activity of the cell, but spread was also simultaneously reduced. That means by doing the proper fasting, by adopting the proper patient in the cancer patient, we can reduce the metastasis also. To conclude of this presentation, it is proven that Langhana is very much beneficial, and throughout the globe has accepted Langhana is one of the major line of therapy to control of most of the diseases from major to the minor kind of the decisions. So that the Pranavisara Vaidya has to decide when we should adopt which type of the Langhana, either according to the Ayurveda or according to the contemporary sciences. A proper adaptation of Langhana can beneficial to the lot of patient to treat successfully. So I have given list of references on here for your references. There is a lot of references are present, and I have given the link for you below. You can go with all these research articles to upgrade of your knowledge. Thank you. Thank you for patiently hearing with my presentation. I will be there in front of you in the future with this YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe with my channel SB Ayurveda Academy to upgrade your knowledge, to interact with your knowledge, and kindly suggest me rather than saying with a thank you and all. Try to suggest me the next topic, with which topic I should be there in front of you. So based on your request, I will be there in front of you with a new topic. And not only that, this Ayurveda Academy is talking about Dr. Ravindra Kumar Arvansi. I will try to bring the successful stories in front of you with a successful experienced doctor, and variety of the doctors throughout the globe. They will come in front of you to discuss about the Ayurveda in this channel. So I request once again to subscribe with this channel. Thank you one and all.